Bienvenidos a todos. I am the Dungeon Delver. How are you guys this evening? It's good to see you. It's good to be seen by you. And for the first time in days, my 3D resin printer, thank you, Dave L., has fallen silent. All of the Beholder 3D resin prints that have been requested are done printing. I still have to print the stands. I am going to print a test stand and make sure it's of the right dimensions. And then once that's done, they'll get billed and then shipped at the first of next week. So don't despair if you missed a Beholder. Hello, Jimmy Invictus. Is good to see you. Because the great devil face awaits you. That's right. Get your hands on one of these bad boys. Also 25, but these come painted. So far, 3 are spoken for. There are 7 available. So if you want one, you got to email me, bsylvie@gmail.com. I'll stick this right here. Thoughts on the rules cyclopedia? Not my cup of tea. It's really not. It really isn't, and I'll tell you why. Basic D&D is all right. Well, you know what? Let's back up for a second. Let's back up. For me, well, I mean, that's technically true, Dungeon Minister. I'm just saying I've got 3 people that have expressed interest, I should say. I have 3 people who have expressed interest. I'm sorry. You're right, Dungeon Minister. But for me, a large part of what makes D&D work is its presentation. Original D&D, Holmes Basic, Moldvay Basic. The presentation is AD&D, of course. Artwork, the tone of the writing. It's really key. It's really essential. The way that it's presented, it makes me feel good. I enjoy reading AD&D volumes. I enjoy looking at the art. Gary's tone when he's speaking to you through the Dungeon Master's Guide is very, very, very avuncular. It's very convivial. It's, come on, sit down, and I'm gonna tell you how to have a fine old time playing D&D. Gygaxian Charm. Jimmy Invictus hits one out of the park. So, with that said, I don't find that in the rules cyclopedia. I just don't. And I'm sorry if that's an ugly take, if that upsets, if that ruffles some feathers. But to me, the rules cyclopedia reads like fantasy stereo instructions. It just does. I don't know what it is. It's a me problem because I know tons of people love that rule cyclopedia. But it just doesn't click. It doesn't click. You can say, Bill, Moldvay and Dave Cook Basic, it's the same stuff. Yeah, but I enjoy reading those rule books. I mean, J. Eric Holmes, no pun intended again, that's practically just J. Eric Holmes' house rules. Like, he got a few glimpses at AD&D, and Gary put a few marginal notes for him to fix in there. And Dr. Holmes' presentation has that same conviviality, the spooky DM is sitting across from you. Not, this came out of the typesetting department at TSR. And that's just kind of where I feel, for me, for Bill Sylvie, that's where I feel the Rules Cyclopedia is on my radar. And I hope that doesn't make you think less of me. And I hope that answers your question. Well, suffice to say, I don't agree with that assessment, Luther. But anyway, let's move on, because right after this show, I've got my sports show to do at 8:30 Eastern, and it is 10 after the hour right now. Well, it's 10 after 7. So let's get rolling. As you know, we've been talking a lot. We've been talking a lot about the hidden shrine of Tamochan, which, if you've been asleep, if you haven't been paying attention, if you just don't know what's going on here, we're going to talk a little bit about hidden shrine. And I think we're going to wrap it up here. I think we're going to take a look at some sections of Hidden Shrine, because honestly, I think you've gotten it. It's not a European fantasy adventure. It is steeped in the myths of Central America, South America, Mesoamerica, and in that, it is lovely and deadly and beautiful. It is sending your AD&D party down the path of the opening act of Raiders of the Lost Ark. And honestly, can you ask for more? The answer is no, you can't. But we have looked at a lot of that. So we're going to look at a few more encounters here. So we talked about the mirror encounters. We had the encounter with the koala, not the koala. Although with this module, would you have been surprised if there had been one? I wouldn't have. Dungeon Minister, why did you just yell spurts? I had you at the mid-dungeon basketball game. The Pelota game is honestly one of the 3 or 4 true high water marks in this module. Playing against a possessed basketball for your life is, in my opinion, one of the coolest things to ever make it into a D&D module. So let's jump in. Let's look at some stuff, because I want to point something out. If I go into you know what? I normally don't do that. That's damn, dude. This is the kind of audience interaction that, like, just makes me happy. The Hidden Shrine of Chaka-Khan. I feel for you. Oh my god. Oh my god. That's so bad. And I love it. I love that. Okay. All right. Let's share a screen. Let's get over to screen 2 here. And let's add to that, because we're coming to one of the cooler monsters in here, and it is horrific and creepy, and I love its addition in AD&D, and I will throw these things at a party like that. Anything that oozes and creeps and does terrible stuff is, yeah, he D1 chat for the evening, honestly. But the mother goddess of the earth, Tlazatiotl, introduces one of my favorite critters in AD&D, an unsung critter. Beyond the door is a small room. Opposite the door in the southeast corner is a small shelf on which rests a glazed flask. The floor of this room is covered with a lumpy pile of earthy material. In the northwest and northeast corner are two more shelves on which rest a small urn and a stone cylinder, respectively. When any character starts into this room, the pile on the floor will open one eye and then another and another until there are many eyes of different shapes and sizes staring at the party. All about the eyes are fanged, drooling mouths, which will begin such a cacophony of babbling as to cause confusion. This is a gibbering mouther. Armor class 1, hit dice 4 plus 3, 21 hit points, number of attacks 6. Damage 1, moves 3 or 6 across mud-like terrain. An amorphous mass, all eyes and mouths. It moves by oozing toward and fastening several mouths onto the ground and pulling itself forward. The babble of this monstrosity is equal to a confusion spell to all within 6 inches, and characters must save versus spells each round that they hear it or be confused. Roll a d8, and then it's got basically the confusion spell results. The mouther always warms the ground and stone within 5 feet of it and can control it consistently, changing the ground or stone to doughish, tarry, quicksand, or concrete in one round. It will soften the hinges of the door so that it cannot be closed. This creature will not sink even in quicksand. A mouther's spit will burst into a bright flare when it strikes cold stone, blinding for one round those who don't save versus petrification. This abomination attacks by biting with 6 different mouths per round. Each mouth that hits latches on and does 1 point of damage per round attached. When 3 mouths are attached to a single character, that character must check each round thereafter for slipping. Roll a 4 or less on 2d6. If the character falls, a mouther will flow over him or her and bite with 12 more mouths. The mouther will then try and trap the other combatants in quicksand after it pulls down one victim. Is that not one of the most horrifying critters? I mean, just a Sararak is frightening, right? Vampires, orcs, red dragons, beholders. All scary stuff. This is body horror par excellence. Hello, Vinny. Good to see you. Honestly, I think the gibbering mouther is based on the Shoggoth. That's my feeling. Because if you read about how the Shoggoth kills creatures, the elder things, it just kind of sucks them apart. Like it pops their heads off and pops their limbs off and so on, and just kind of rolls in a big mass. Although it can't do the terrain control. So the flask in the room holds the dried powder of a strength potion. The urn holds the dried heart of a mighty serpent warrior. Any character eating it will understand the speech of all serpents permanently, but will be unable to speak it him or herself. The entire heart must be eaten by a single figure, since the power is transferable only to one person. Yes, the Shoggoth from HBL. Hey, what's in there? This leathery, desiccated heart. Eat it, see what happens. The stone cylinder is a baton, a +2 weapon when the wielder stands on stone or earth. It strikes as a club for 1 to 6 points of damage. If the wielder is standing on wood, in water, or in the air, the weapon loses its damage bonus and drains 1 point of constitution per blow from the holder. Oh my God, you picky piece of garbage. When the wielder's con reaches 0, he or she is rendered unconscious. 1 con may be recovered per full round spent in complete rest, up to a maximum of 6 points in a turn. So yeah. So let's talk about mummified. Did we already talk about the mummy centaur? I feel like we did. Sucks out your spine juice like a crawdad. I feel like we already talked about this, but we do have a water weird that is an agent of Camazotz. Platinum key and chain worth 20 gold pieces. It unlocks the portcullis, blocking the exit at 53. Yeah, I feel like we talked about that. And let's see. The valve that you need the platinum key to open. And then the temple. The temple is at the top of the pyramid. So we come to the temple ruin. We may have just wrapped this thing up, guys, without having to launch into too much detail. We may have just wrapped up this module. And then we've got free time. Isn't that awesome? Temple ruin. Smote his ruin upon the mountainside. This was apparently a large temple of some sort. Now remember, let me just pump the brakes here for a second. If you're running this tournament style, your party has climbed up to this point. They might start here. This could be the first one, and then you got to go backwards. Build off the gray. Yes. A dungeon master never comes before he is ready. He arrives when he is meant to, or whatever it is. There I threw down my foe and smote his ruin upon the mountainside. Temple ruin. This was apparently a temple of some sort. Once a major building, all that remains are the back wall and enough of the roof to shelter the altar. All else seems closed off by fallen debris. Several pillars have fallen and they litter the floor. Sunlight filters through the holes in the roof 35 feet overhead, which is a maze of chips and cracks. The back wall is covered by a bas-relief of a giant bat thing, 9 feet tall with a wingspan of 20. In front of this wall is an altar stone carved to represent a mass of squirming rats, weasels, and worms. Carved weasels ripped my flesh. Riz. In front of the altar is the head of a screaming bat. Arching above the altar, arching above the altar from either side are a pair of metal bat wings, 8 feet long. The floor in front of the altar is worn into hollows. Show the players illustration 0. We have seen illustration 0 so many times. But we can look at it one more time. That's what you see. And I think we're back on page 23. Jimmy Invictus has been reading ahead, I think. The temple is closed by debris, which provide no entrances or exits. However, in the center of the south side, there's an area of tinted rubble. It is shaky and may be collapsed to provide a portal. Any sufficient pressure equal to 15 strength will bring the tenting down. All characters within 10 feet of the collapse will be hit by 1 to 4 stones, which will cause 0 to 2 points of damage each. Roll for the number of stones which will strike a character on a d10. And there it's 1 to 2 is 1 stone, 3 to 7 is 2 stones, 8 to 9 is 3, and 10 is 4. The rubble may also be caused to collapse by hurling a weighty object at it. Climbing elsewhere on the debris will cause a collapse, causing 1 to 4 points of damage, and there's a 1 in 6 chance that the character will be buried 3 to 12 points of damage. In these latter collapses, they will not open a way in or out. If they climb up on the roof, there's a 1 in 6 chance per round that the roof section will collapse and the character will suffer 3 to 18 damage. 10 feet in front of the altar is a trap door. Any character that walks across it may trigger it 1 in 12. For the mechanism is old and long disuse has made it unreliable. The trap door opens onto a slide which leads to the top of the pit at 53. Characters will then drop 30 feet, taking 3 to 18 points of damage. Close inspection of the altar will reveal handholds in front of the base. The altar may be lifted and tipped over backwards with a total of 40 strength points. However, when this is done, the metal wings will whip forward at about chest height. The leading edges are razor sharp and cleave any person in their path for 3 to 24 points of damage. And you can half it for save versus paralysis. If it's tilted by characters in a kneeling position, the wings will whistle by harmlessly. Well, that's what the detect trap spell is for, Luther. Beneath the altar is an 8-foot deep pit in which are many items of treasure and 2 bodies cut in half. The treasure is valued at about 2,500 gold pieces, but is very bulky. There are 80 silver chase goblets, 20 gold-plated statuettes, 50 reposed silver chalices and servings, 150 pieces of trinket jewelry, 200 mother of pearl gemstones, a jade placard bearing the image of Zotz, and a marble statue of Chakmul, a reclining figure. All of this treasure is very heavy to carry. There are also 19,160 silver pieces. It is very likely that if large portions of this treasure are taken, Camazotz, the bat god to whom this temple is dedicated, will find out and send a vampire or giant bat to seek retribution. The secret door to the tombs below is hidden behind the left wing of the giant bat thing carved upon the wall. The way this door is open is for the supplicant to place his or her arm into the mouth of the carving and press. The mouth will clamp shut and the teeth will puncture the arm, doing 1 to 2 points of damage. As the blood drains into a hidden reservoir of the giant bat wing starts to fold back from the wall. It takes 3 to 5 rounds with a loss of 1 to 2 points of damage per round for the secret door to open. However, the bat wing will fold across the chest of the carving, crushing the supplicant for another 1 to 6 points of damage if still there. Any character with a strength of 15 or better may break free of the mouth, or the arm will be released when the reservoir is filled. The trick is that it need not be blood to open the door, only fluid weight. Any liquid will do so in sufficient amounts to open the door. Once the wing is moved to reveal the secret door, it will veil the lower half of the carving's face, and the black stone eyes will start to glow. Any character who looks at them must save versus rods or be paralyzed or until a light spell is cast on them for 2 to 8 turns. When the temple is opened and returned to, it will be discovered that a Hyenodon with those stats, armor class 7, 5 hit dice, 25 hit points, 1 attack for 3 to 12, has taken up layering behind a fallen pillar to the east. No, I don't think modern players would be like, let me just read, So this was designed by Harold Johnson and Jeff Leeson. Assistance by Dave Cook and Law Schick. Editor Harold Johnson. Editing and production Dave Cook, Jeff Leeson, and Law Schick. Illustrations Errol Otis, Jeff D., Greg K. Fleming, David S. LaForce, and David C. Sutherland III. And this is where we have our first entry. So we'll look at the monsters here because, we've got time. We've got, about 45 minutes or an hour to kill. Yeah. Not in my AD&D, you don't. So here's the Nereid, and right off the bat, she's listed as chaotic with a dash there. She can be neutral, evil, or good. Nereids are creatures from the elemental plane of water. Their name means the honeyed ones, and they can assume human form when not near the water, not in the water. These forms are always beautiful and mostly female. Mostly female, it says. No, I think Errol Otis's Nereid is just fine, Luther. Are you talking about Dave LaForce's one at the top of the next page? Well, anyway. So it doesn't really talk much about their personalities, just what they can do. Yeah, David S. LaForce has done better drawings than that. And of better drawings of women. You look at his work in Deities and Demigods, for example. And it's Jeff D. who did Morgan Ironwolf. Morgan of the square jaw and the breast that was drawn by putting a dime on the paper and drawing a circle, putting a dot in the middle. Okay, so here we go about their alignment. Like the water they inhabit, their motives are chaotic and capricious, but whether good, neutral, or evil depends on the individual. The majority are chaotic neutral, but there are those who are very good, as well as those who are diabolically evil. All are shy and flighty, and their antics have a playful quality. So, yeah, these, Don't put it in crazy, boys. That's all I have to say, because she can drown you. She can deafen you. And she has a pet. Could be something as capricious as a dolphin, could be something as horrible as a giant octopus. And they're all covered in the monster manual. But here, the gibbering mouther. That is the stuff of nightmares. That's when you go to the mid whatever AI and just say, darkness imprisoning me, all that I see, absolute horror, enter. That's what comes out. The gibbering mouther, or gibbering. It's an amoeboid-like form of life composed of all mouths and eyes. Its favorite tactic is to lie in wait with its eyes and mouth shut appearing to be a lump of earthy material in order to surprise a party when it stumbles across the creature. Its only motive is to eat what is edible and within reach, regardless of its composition, animal, vegetable, or mineral. Due to its excessive hunger, its lair and the surrounding area will be stripped bare. Gibbering mouthers prefer to inhabit cold regions and underground. Now, cold regions and underground. And you know, something just occurred to me. I said earlier when we looked at this thing, hey, it's like a Shoggoth, but, you know, not really. If you read the description of the Shoggoth, or some of the notes on the Shoggoth in At the Mountains of Madness, they talk about how the Elder Things created them to help them build their cities. So the stone manipulation stuff may very well fit quite nicely with that. Although I should point out, the Shoggoth is in deities and demigods. So, and it's tougher than these things by far. But yeah, cold underground regions. And it propels itself, of course, by oozing forward and fastening several mouths on the ground and pulling itself forward. It may move faster over viscous terrains, such as mud and quicksand, by a series of muscular contractions, and given a chance, will alter the ground with its special talent to allow this faster form of movement. The brain is located in the mid portion, and its gelatinous-like body will make it difficult to strike this one vital spot, thus its armor class of 1. The mouther attacks in more than one way. The spittle of a mouther will burst into a bright flare if it strikes any hard, cold surface. The resulting flash will blind those characters looking at it if they fail their save versus petrifaction. For 1 round, a mouther attacks by extending and biting with 6 mouths each round. Each mouth which hits will fasten on and drain. Well, we read about that. And then we've got the confusion that it does. So just take in its nightmare glory. Look at how awful that is. Imagine that is literally the last thing you see because your party is blind and confused, but not you. No, not you. You made your saving throws. You're going to save the party. You're going to fight this thing off. And then this wave of eyes and mouths just... What a delightful way for a character to die. So those are our 2 new monsters, and we've got some notes that a DM can put in right there. This page intentionally left blank. And then we come back to the characters. Magic items. Let's see. Magic items. Oh, these are the magic items that the characters have. I thought maybe there might have been some special magic items like here. Re-explanation of the magic items. The weird magic items in the tomb. But this is just what the players have, or the characters have. Mira, Care, and Rial. Here's some detail maps. Always very nice. Character combat charts. I love these in modules. Monster Matrix. Also very helpful. And here's a score sheet. Yeah. So you can look at this and see points. And then score tables accordingly. That thing is why magic users memorize fire spells. Yes, it absolutely is. Burn it alive. Like McCready and The Thing. So this, by room from 1 to 53 or 53 to 1, is how characters are scored. And we can take a quick peek down here. And then guess what? We're done with C1. Because, I mean, let's be honest, guys. C1, seen them all. Ha! Additional points. 3 characters escape alive. That's plus 100. 2 escape alive. That's plus 80. 1 escape alive. That's plus 60. Each character lost within the first 20 minutes, minus 20. Within the second 20 minutes, minus 15. Third, and so on until it's just a mere minus 3. And we have some footnotes down at the bottom. Score each team on performance after all play is completed. In order to avoid negative scores, 100 points should be added to each team's total. So you start off with a base of 100 and you can go above it or below it, but never drop below 0. Very good planning on their part. So that's C1. That's the hidden shrine of Tamochan. Some of its history, a presentation of its tournament, a look at its unique monsters, which later became icons of Dungeons and Dragons. I don't know of a single dungeon master, honestly, who has not put a gibbering mouther or, strangely, a friendly Nereid in their games. I guess they saw that chaotic could be any and left the door open for one to help a party along when necessary. I mean, let's be honest, parties have got it pretty rough. I can definitely appreciate the desire to do something nice for them. But of course, at the same time, there's still a chance she could unwittingly charm a player into trying to force a kiss on her. And, well, we all know what happens then. So that's it. That's C1, and I hope you guys enjoyed a look at the C series. Now, look, I know there's C3, C4, and C5. I don't own them. And I know that, like, some of them just get, like, not good reviews. It's like when people ask me about, oh, hey, are you going to cover the WG modules? Well, we've covered the WG modules. Well, we've covered a bunch of the WG modules because there's still Isle of the Ape and Mordenkainen's Fantastic Adventure that we'll do deep dives on in the future. But yeah, I'm never doing puppets. I'm never doing gargoyles, any of that crap that came after Gary left TSR. So there are modules, even 1E modules. Like somebody asked me about Dragonlance. About, oh, you're gonna do Dragonlance? No, probably not. I mean, first and foremost, even if I wanted to, guys, there's what, 17 Dragonlance modules? Something crazy like that. And then, you know, it's the same with a lot of the Forgotten Realm modules too. Although, again, I've been asked about the Desert of Desolation series. I'm not going to say no. I'm not just going to say absolutely not. I'm never going to do a deep dive on the Desert of Desolation series. But I got to get coached up on it. I got to get learned up on it. I got to get a better handle on the Desert of it. Because I know a little bit about the Desert of Desolation modules. A little bit. Not a huge amount. So we'll just have to see when we get there. If I've got the time to research them and give you guys a good, solid appraisal of them, then we'll proceed apace, as Gary said. But I don't want to be like looking at them the first time ever. You know, I don't want to just be like, oh yeah, oh that's interesting. That to me would be as bad as like bringing a module to the table and just stripping the cover off or stripping the plastic off and saying, we're playing this. Like, get some knowledge in DM. You got some work to do. Birthright, no. I don't have it. And at the time that Birthright rolled out, it was I was far away from D&D. I mean, there is a metric crap ton of stuff, and it's a 2E product anyway. Birthright is 2E, and I'm really only here to talk about AD&D, OD&D, basic. We can look at B1, and we can look at Isle of Dread, X1. Thank you, Luther. I appreciate that. You are patient. Yes. But yeah, that's there's plenty of deep divey stuff to look at going forward. Fear not. What do I have? You know, I considered N1 for a while, but I've also I'm leaning a little bit more towards Village of Hamlet for the next module deep dive. Which, if I'm being honest, I wouldn't start till next week anyway. So, I mean, I think unless there's a hue and cry for something like you guys as a unit just demand something different, I'm thinking next Monday we're going to jump straight in to Village of Hamlet. Now, let me be clear. Let me be crystal clear as the air between me and the camera lens. This does not mean I will deep dive Temple of Elemental Evil. I will not. Temple of Elemental Evil, in my opinion, is brilliant but flawed. And it's flawed because Frank Menser made it flawed. When Gary said elemental, he meant fundamental. He meant as like an elemental building block of the universe. Frank's reading comprehension wasn't up to snuff. And so he created this stuff with earth, air, fire, and water, evil temples. And by the time he'd mucked it up, there really wasn't the time to go back and correct it. So we're stuck with angry dirt, angry hot, angry wet, and angry blowy. But Hamlet itself, Hamlet is a classic. So I'm thinking we start with Hamlet next week, unless you guys want me to talk about Car Wars. Yes, it's right over my shoulder there. Or Dragons of Under-Earth, or this more realistically, West End game Star Wars. Next week, we'll start a deep dive and we'll talk about Village of Hamlet. And that is what we are going to do. So I hope you're looking forward to that as much as I am. Langmar setting in its modules. Let me tell you what. I love, with a capital L, Fritz Leiber's works. Fritz Leiber is fundamental to Dungeons and Dragons. I don't just mean like, well, Gary liked Fritz Leiber and Gary put Langmar references, and Gary was friends with Fritz Leiber. Fritz Leiber commissioned a very naughty statue of Mary Gygax. A statuette about that tall. And she still has it on her mantelpiece. The Pirate Queen. Look it up. It is not safe for work. I would love to talk about Langmar insofar as it is a 1E AD&D product. But I might, I might look at the 1E Langmar stuff someday. I mean, hell, I might do a book review of the entire Langmar compendium back. The book division of White Wolf back in the 90s republished all of Fritz Leiber's Fafhrd and Grey Mouser stories, put them in order in 4 paperbacks. And I have them. They are beaten to hell, but they are magnificent. I love them. I absolutely love those books. And I could talk about how much I love those books for days. For days and days. Unfortunately, with White Wolf Publishing having gone the way of the dodo, in that respect, those are now unobtainium. It's like the first volume, Ill Met. It's like, oh, it's a paperback. It's $32. Ouch, but I get the stories. And then, like, no, the last time I looked on Amazon, nobody had like Swords of Langmar except one guy, and he wanted like $116 for a paperback of it. And I just couldn't find the other 2. I would love to tell people, yeah, just go buy these 4 paperbacks and you've got the best sword and sorcery, low fantasy stories ever written, but they have once again become unobtainium, which sucks. I used to have a buddy who was very connected in Hollywood. Well, talk about them for days. That's what you're asking for. I see. All right. I see what you're asking about. But I had a buddy who was very connected in Hollywood, and this was back in like before the 20 teens even. And I was like, Greg, man, you gotta find out who's doing what with the Fafhrd and Grey Mouser properties. I need a Fafhrd and Grey Mouser movie. And he's like, you don't want it, dude. Trust me. It would get butchered. Now, I think nowadays it would get butchered, but it would not get butchered in the sense of being cut apart because of time. Like, even after Lord of the Rings, if you wanted a Fafhrd and Grey Mouser movie, like, they would have compressed stuff down into like 110-minute film. Nowadays, you'd get like a multi-year series out of it. But you guys have seen what they do to things that they think they have to make redress with. I cannot imagine for a minute that they would leave Fritz Leiber's works unmolested, unwrecked. So perhaps it's all for the best. So yeah, that's what, be here Monday, Village of Hamlet. We're going to start the deep dive of Village of Hamlet on Monday. And I hope you guys will enjoy looking at that one as well. You know, it's funny. My seminal D&D experience was Keep on the Borderlands, and I've talked before about how Keep on the Borderlands, I learned to play D&D because of Keep on the Borderlands, not because of a rule book. Keep on the Borderlands was my D&D rule book for the longest time. Yeah, me either, Jimmy. Wouldn't want any classic fantasy series adopted by Hollywood right now. No, me either. No, Netflix, Amazon, Tubi, Crackle. Don't even look at Fritz Leiber. But yeah, so many people say, oh man, Village of Hamlet, I remember we were just kids and we got Village of Hamlet. And like, I've started campaigns with Village of Hamlet, but I didn't start D&D with Village of Hamlet. But Village of Hamlet is like the basic advanced D&D module. But I feel like it is best. There's a little spoiler, a little hint, a little teaser for Monday. Village of Hamlet is best when it's presented to experienced players to begin a new campaign with low-level characters. B2 works that way, but it also works for inexperienced players. There's a lot of soft corners in B2. I mean, Gary straight up says, if the characters are lost, a friendly talking magpie will fly by and redirect them. None of that is in Hamlet. You know, Village of Hamlet, the Moat House dungeon, has giant frogs that can swallow, like, you know, Bodo the halfling will take the point and cross the moat. Ribbit, glop, plop. You're done. That's it. And I know people who fused Hamlet and the Borderlands together. They put the keep in Verbabonk, not in Verbabonk, you know what I mean. They put it in the region. And Hamlet is a village that's near the keep. And the same chaotic evil that's happening at the keep is happening over in the Caves of Chaos. So I salute the DMs who've done that. But the B in basic shines through over the not B in basic of Village of Hamlet. I think that's probably accurate. And if you feel more like running the GDQ modules than faffing about in this, where is it? This car battery. The typographical error that mentions Loth, the evil cleric Lareth the Beautiful, most favored of Loth, and he's a human. But then, if we read about Loth in Q1, of course, we've got, you know, that she can appear as a human or a drow. But yeah, I mean, Lareth is just if you take that hook that he's a priest of Loth, then the ongoings, you can ignore the ongoings at the temple and just kind of slipstream it more into a GDQ way. Although even after T1, parties are nowhere near ready to go into G1. So find other stuff for them to do. The Slavers modules are a fine place to send a lower leveled party to get ramped up and amped up and then go assault G1, G2, G3, D1, D2, D3, and then Q1. I would even dare say that barring some amazing fortune, don't send them into the GDQ modules. Sorry, I had a brain fart there. Don't send them into the GDQ modules after a romp through Temple of Elemental Evil. In fact, I don't think characters are high enough level to tackle Temple of Elemental Evil after Village of Hamlet, which makes it such a strange thing. Jimmy Invictus asks, well, first of all, Luther says, just do the whole dang I series, Dwellers of the Forbidden City, all the way through the Needle. I'll do Dwellers of the Forbidden City for sure. That's a good module. It is a lovely sandbox module. Once you get past the very railroady entrance, it is very much a go anywhere, do anything, approach the city at your own pace. Just like, hey, let's go over to that pond. Oh my God, bullywugs and a Oriental dragon. Let's come back over here. Kind of thing. I might. I mean, but I will definitely do Dwellers in the Forbidden City. My 3 top favorite classic modules. Okay, here we go. 3 top favorite. Number 1 is probably White Plume Mountain. Reason: it has so much. It is the everything bagel. It is the supreme pizza of AD&D modules. It covers so much of AD&D's goodness. There's weird environments, but there's also normal dungeon crawling stuff. There's strange monsters like the Kelpies and the giant crab, but then you can also bump into bugbears and packs of undead. By the time I finish the I series, the sun will swell to a red giant. The earth will be vaporized. No, I got a plan for that. Don't worry. It involves gyroscopes at the poles and using one of Saturn's moons, or Jupiter's moons rather, as a gravitic tug to just move us out someplace out near the Kuiper belt. Near it, not into it. We don't get smacked with a comet. And then as the sun starts to shrink back down into a white dwarf, we just move back in and just snuggle up around that habitability zone. Hey, that's what I'm here for. So White Plume Mountain, for all the reasons I just said. Keep on the Borderlands, and I shouldn't have to explain, right? You guys know how much I love Keep on the Borderlands. It's everything. It's everything. And finally, I would say this is a tough one. But I'm going to have to say See, I've got three possible candidates. And they're all good. And they're all by Gary. You know what? It's controversial, but since you're forcing me into a top 3 type situation, and this doesn't knock the others out of consideration as being good modules, the others that I was thinking of, this does not push like, oh, by saying this, it means I don't care about them. That's not true. So White Plume, Keep on the Borderlands, and G1, Steading of the Hill Giant Chief. There's mystery and intrigue in White Plume Mountain. There's all the wonderfulness and learning to explore and love in B2. And G1 is just when it is time to let the broadswords sing. Oh, the runners up are all the rest. I mean, the classic run of great AD&D modules. I mean, so after G1, you'd have to go G2, G3, then D1, 2, 3, A1 through 4, Q1, S1, S3, S4, WG4, WG5, T1, I1, N1, U1 through 3, I mean, all of the early first edition AD&D modules are great. Many of the later first edition AD&D modules are really good. I mean, we were spoiled back then, guys. There were no meh adventures. Down in the shallow end of the pool, you had the B series and T1. And for the mid-range, you know, A1 through A4. And then all of that awesome stuff. The hard mode. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's in there. It's definitely in there, Luther. I mean, you know, people are like, what about Ravenloft? What about Sunless Citadel? You can't leave out classical newer modules. Yes, I can. Watch me. Because I just did. I just did. So that's how I feel about that. Yeah, there are no bad early modules. There are no bad early modules. I mean, there were some stinkers as time went on. There are some that were just like, oh, God, how did this get published? Is it C5? There's places in C5 where it literally reads like you're reading a paragraph of text in C5. And I don't know if it's block text to read out loud or if it's just notes for the dungeon master, but it literally reads like you're going along and the author stopped mid-sentence, mid-paragraph, left and went on to other things in their life, and someone else came and sat down without having read anything before it and just picked up. I think that's the Forest Oracle, or maybe it's To Find a King. I didn't leave out Tomb of Horrors. I said S1 when I was rattling off the S series. I did not leave out Tomb of Horrors. Not for another couple of 100 years, Jimmy. Bill is a Sararak. Although, that is a hit the lottery type thing. Have a mound style enclosure built up. Not you can't dig. If you dig down 4 feet in the ground in Florida, you hit the water table. Water will just fill up. But yeah, just build an above ground hill. Build up the sides, an earthen rampart around the sides, and then cover it with dirt. But build the Tomb of Horrors as an attraction. And then do it as like an escape room, but the whole dungeon. I look tired. I don't have gemstone teeth or eyeballs, so that's right out. I think Jimmy was trying to say you must be this tall. Anyway, yeah, you must be this tall to have your soul destroyed by a Sararak. Yeah, no, you could have a lot of fun with a Tomb of Horrors style escape room. Is it Richard Garriott, the guy that designed like all of the Ultimate games, and then his company was Origin Software was bought by EA, and they murdered it in front of him, and then did bad mating things with the corpse in front of him as he watched in horror, to the point that at the party for the release of the last Ultimate game, Richard Garriott, he had it on his property, and he burned EA logos in effigy. He burned them. Was how unhappy he was with EA. But anyway, Richard Garriott got like god tier money and built a castle that you can like do LARPy stuff in, like an actual stone castle with like ramparts and all that stuff. Yeah, I always thought highly of Garriott as far as a shaper and a creator. But anyway, I'm loving these ideas, guys. I'm gonna hit the lottery and make this stuff happen. So later tonight, in about 20 minutes, I've got my sports show starting, which I realize you guys don't give a fig about. But I'm just letting you know we're kind of easing into the station for tonight. So tomorrow night we're open mic, and then into more Gamma World goofiness. Guys, if you missed the last Gamma World game, you missed stupid amounts of fun. We laughed and laughed and laughed, and that was oh so hilarious. And I'm looking forward to hopefully more of it. But I mean, it was good. It was good gameplay. It wasn't like paranoia kind of funny. But check it out. So tomorrow night, Gamma World. Now I will tell you this, because we're coming up on it. I'm going to look at the calendar. 2 more weeks of Gamma World. Tomorrow night and then the following week. 4 weeks in October, I will be running Call of Cthulhu on Friday nights. I think we have a good player base for it. I am hoping to run a game for you guys, live streamed for you guys, of sublime horror, cosmic horror, things that will hopefully make your skin crawl. So, Call of Cthulhu is happening very soon in October. I'm looking forward to it. All right. Before I get up out of here, consider a painting session sometimes. Get some of your minis done and show off some technique. I could do that. I would probably do it as a standalone video, like shoot it over the weekend and then upload it to the channel. Because I can't interact with you guys well when I'm painting. I'm glad you guys are looking forward to it. You know what else I'm glad for? I have some folks who help support this channel. They literally keep the lights on, and I like to thank them directly. First of all, I love all you guys, and I mean that. I mean that. You guys are awesome, all of you, without exception. I think you're cool people. You know, will I ever become a big internet superstar? Probably not. Not at my age. I missed the starting gun, to quote Pink Floyd. But I get to hang out with you guys, and you guys are awesome. And I want to thank some of the folks who literally help keep the lights on around here. So let me stop being maudlin and say thank you to Joshua Garlock, Lord Corion, Ricky Maru, Mobius, Kevin Reynolds, Doomsword, Deathmaster, Mark Simpson, Damien 247. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. James F. Keck and the whole observatory out there in Hawaii. William Smith, the Dungeon Minister. Sit you down, Father. Bless you. Manny Wall, Mark Corey, Kevin Wood, Todd Sharp, Carnivore Farmer, Rob, Jeremy Roll, Boganora, Mikey Mank, Sky Hernstrom, Pete Sullivan, the DM's Council, and our latest helper, Baron Von Headbanger. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it, guys. I greatly appreciate it. When I close for the night, you're still here. Aw. Can't type today. Paint Aurora's dragon. And Aurora, if you watch this later, I don't know what that means. So you guys have a wonderful, lovely evening. I'm going to skate on out of here and get some stuff ready for the sports show. If you care about college football, check out Houndstooth Podcast on YouTube. You can come and watch us. Thank you, Jimmy. I'm glad you stumbled upon it. I would do this if it was just you, my friend, or if it was just Mark, or if it was just Wave of Mutilation or Chris Sims. If there was just one person, I would still do this. But anyway, special shout out to Luther Pendragon and that ridiculous dad joke. I love you, brother. That's amazing. That was amazing. You guys have a stellar evening, and I'll see you tomorrow night. Peace.